Hey folks, how's it going today? It's your favorite time of the week, Billor Week 9 review. Oh God, where is it? Where did I throw it? There it is. You'll forgive me, I'm gonna work on this while I talk to you guys. But anyways, so week 9, where to begin? I guess the easiest place to begin is if you're thinking about coming to Billor, right now is not the time. I do not recommend anybody come over here right now because I need to get a pair of pliers for that. They don't know what they're doing. Hi, Raven. Hi, Vivi. Anyways, they have... I don't understand what suddenly went wrong in the office. You know, my first 8 weeks here, I was happy. Everything was going relatively smoothly. Yeah, I wasn't making the kind of money that, you know, they were touting. But, you know, at least purchase, spot market rates, you know, pulling $2,000 to $2,500 a week on average is still decent. For me, that's decent. You know, I was able to pay my bills, get ahead on some stuff, start putting a little bit of money back for, you know, repairs and maintenance on the truck. Now we come to the end of week 9. And you all know the end of week 8, I had that negative balance of $2,800. But the load that I was running at the time of that video literally covered all of that negative with about $800 to the good. So we get into week 9. I delivered that load on Monday. It was Monday night. I delivered that load. Ended up sitting all day Tuesday because they kept trying to feed me loads that were, you know, under $2 a mile, and that just doesn't work. My operating cost is $1.70. That's for me to break even out of a 3,000 mile week. So I kept saying no, Finally, they kept, the dispatch team, because it's no longer just me and one dispatcher. Now there's like a whole gaggle of people that's supposedly involved in dispatching my truck. The one dispatcher kept trying to feed me a load from Idaho, right outside of Boise, Idaho, all the way into Hunts Point in the Bronx, and they wanted me to take that load for $5,600. Yeah, it comes out to about $2.20 a mile. However, you're gonna lose anywhere between $300 and $400 in tolls going out across 80 through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then crossing the George Washington Bridge in New York City. Not to mention, when you get to Hunts Point, you're going to lose a day. You're going to be there all day. So I kept saying no to it, and the dispatcher that I was dealing with started getting snippy with it, and finally I just said, you know what, fine, to heck with it, it'll get me off of the West Coast, go ahead and book me on it. Well, she goes and contacts the broker. Oh, we've got an open claim with you guys. We don't want to load with you right now. Okay. So start looking at some other loads, and I said, what about this load? Same thing, broker doesn't want to work with us. And I'm sitting here going, on Tuesday, it was around 2 o'clock out in Idaho. I finally said, you know what? Let me finish my 34 out. I will be done with my 34 at 5 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, because I was in Mountain Time. I said, I'll be done at 5 o'clock in the morning Mountain Time, which is 7 o'clock your time. You can get me another load. We can look for a load then. So they end up finding me a load to Pasco, Washington. The rate on that was $1,000. Yeah, the rate on that was $1,000. $2 a loaded mile. And I was like, okay, you know, deadhead, yeah, it was like 107. No, it was, what was that? It was like 115 miles deadhead east. And then I had to load, you know, back west. So I said, go ahead and, you know, yeah, we'll take that load. It was through that King of Freight broker, which those guys are crooks if I ever heard of it. But anyway, so I said, yeah, let's do that, and then we can grab a load of apples out of Washington, because literally Pasco was like less than an hour from where the apples loaded, and there was an apple load available. So I get to this shipper. Now, mind you, on the load board for this load for $1,000, they had it listed out at 35,000 pounds. Not a problem. 35,000, not a problem. Well, I get out to this shipper and they wanted to load me with 48,500 pounds. And I said, no, wait a minute. Number one, I can't legally load that much. And number two, this load was booked out for 35,000 pounds, not 48.5. So I get in touch with my dispatcher. I say, hey, what's going on with this load? It's supposed to be 35,000. They're trying to load 48.5 on me, and I can't take that. So she said, let me get in touch with the broker. Broker asked her, you know, how much can you legally load? You know, how much could I legally load? And she told him 46,000. I can legally load 47. I can legally load 47,000. My empty weight with full fuel is 32,500. I can legally load 47.5, but I don't like going over 47 because, you know, when you load right to that 80,000, if it's not loaded exactly perfect, you're screwed. So she goes to the broker. She says, 46,000. You guys had this booked out at 35. We didn't think it would be an issue. So the broker gets in touch with the shipper and tells the shipper, hey, pull, because I was hauling big rolls of irrigation pipe. Reels of it. And they told them to pull one of those off of there, because they were 45,000 pounds. That got me down to 44,000 for on the truck, and I was like, okay, we're good. So I had 7 of those reels and 5 pallets going up to Pasco, Washington then. Then, of course, we didn't get a rate increase for the added weight, you know, but it is what it is. So I get loaded on Wednesday, and I hustle butt up to Pasco, Washington. And while I'm en route up to Pasco, dispatcher comes back to me and says, hey, I found another option instead of apples. It picks up in Spokane, and it goes to, it was originally booked to go to Miami, Florida for 6,100. And I said, okay, when do we want this, you know, when do they want it out there? And she goes, Monday. I said, Monday's not going to be possible. I said, that's 3,000 miles. Picking up on Thursday, I said, girls, hey, you let him dump his stuff out. You get up here and lay down. Anyway, so I said, Tuesday, I can get it to Miami by Tuesday. I said, but Monday is not possible. So Broker comes back, it's TQL, another set of crooks, but anyways, TQL comes back and says, well, the customer will take it Tuesday, they really want it Monday, so we can do for Tuesday, but the rate comes down to $6,000. Fine, whatever, just, you know, book it. So she books the load, rate confirmation comes in, and on the rate confirmation it says Jacksonville, Florida. So I go to her and I say, I thought this was going to Miami. And she goes, let me double check with the broker. So the broker comes back and says, no, it's changed to the port in Jacksonville. But can we do any better on the rate, because it's 300 miles less? So I ended up losing a grand total of $500 off of this load. So it's now $5,600. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Still comes in at about $215 a mile, but I'm like, are you kidding me? The only saving grace is the fact that it's 25,000 pounds. I've got two container units on here. They're like field offices for military, and they're bound for Puerto Rico. So I'm delivering these. Gonna try, well, I'm not gonna try, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna deliver these Monday in Jacksonville. So we got that going on. All right, whatever. Well, now they sent my settlement through, and I got my settlement breakdown, which says that I'm due $3,000 as a deposit in my bank account. And I'm sitting here going, these numbers do not make sense. So I start adding everything up, and I'm like, okay, they didn't take out any of the fuel. They didn't charge, well, no, they took out $711 for fuel off of my week 8. Okay, so that leaves me a balance of like $1,300 in fuel for week 8. They didn't take any of my week 9 fuel out of my settlement. So I bring this up and I'm like, you know what is going on here? Because they hit me for tolls, which I knew tolls were coming, and I had about $1,200 in tolls for like the last month and a half. Because I had to hit 80 and the turnpike in Pennsylvania, and that'll kill you. That'll kill you. Anyway, so I was like, okay, you know, I get that, I understand that. But I had everything figured up, and I told my dispatcher, you know, even with those tolls hitting, I should still be getting $700. With nothing carrying over, I should be getting $700. And I said, you know, what's going on here? Because now, with the $3,400 in fuel that they didn't bill me for, I've got all the fuel that I'm spending on this load, which right now is about hang on, let me pull that up. Receipts. So I fueled up yesterday, this week the 19th. When was the 19th? Was 3 days. Okay, so yeah, I'm sitting at almost $1,000 this week in fuel already, because I had to fuel up today, and I still got 1,200 miles to go, which means I'm going to need to get 2 more fill-ups on this truck. till I get to Jacksonville. So I'm going to be sitting right about $1,700 in fuel for this week. That puts me at $5,100 in the negative on fuel. Now, part of the reason I agreed to go to Jacksonville was because my week 10 is supposed to be my free week on fixed expenses. Well, in order to get that, I've got to go to one of their frickin' partner shops to get some kind of an inspection done on my truck. And if I don't approve any repairs that they find, I don't get my free week. Explain that one to me, because that's not in writing anywhere. So whatever, okay, we're gonna go to this shop. My truck is good, and if they try to find something, I'm gonna tell them they're full of shit. But anyways, I'm gonna go get this inspection done. I do need to get a PM on the truck, so I'm gonna get the PM done on the truck. On top of that, yesterday, Thursday evening, I stopped at a Love's on Interstate 90, exit 2, coming east, to get my air conditioning fixed, because my AC compressor, like, it burned up. It went bad. So I got everything squared away with the finance team and everything to get this repair covered by FinTech. And I have Love's do all the work that's required with the compressor to get their warranty on it. So that was the air, the AC compressor, the receiver dryer, and the expansion valve, along with 2 Schrader valves, actually 1 Schrader valve, and the O-rings and miscellaneous shit like that, along with labor. It ended up being $1,961 and some change. Well, then these geniuses at Love's turned the truck on. They let it run for like 3 minutes. They turned the AC on full blast, and hey, there's cold air coming out of the vents. Well, yeah, no crap, dipshits. It's fucking 41 degrees out. You didn't let the truck heat up. You did nothing to heat the truck up, you know, to actually test the AC. So I get an hour and a half down the road after being there for 4.5 hours. I get an hour and a half down the road, and I figure, hey, now everything's hot. I'm gonna turn the AC on, and I'm gonna make sure my AC works. Well, guess what doesn't work? My air conditioning. So now I'm going down to Jacksonville, still with no air conditioning in the truck, with the dogs. It's too hot down there for them to be in one of these things. It's, you know, it's my girl. It is way too hot for a dog in a vehicle without AC in that heat. So I'm gonna have to try to stop between tonight and tomorrow, get this AC fixed, and still be in Jacksonville on time for a Monday delivery. Or I'm gonna have to try to tough it out and go straight over to the shop after I unload and tell them to fix the AC immediately. But anyways, so yeah, so I'm due $3,000 deposit this week. Now, this week, everything was in before 6 o'clock on Thursday for the cutoff to get paid for everything. Supposedly, they processed my payment Friday morning. I still haven't been paid. It is now Saturday night. I still do not have my deposit in my bank account. And yeah, so all of this is going on, and our broker choice is so limited that if you get booked a load over $2.20 a mile, that's actually good here. And when you you know, try to get resolution for paycheck not being deposited, they turn around and want to blame your bank for it. Well, I'm sorry. You guys have not processed my payment in your system because they send a text message out when your payment processes. Guess what? Every week, I get that text message. 5 to 10 minutes later, guess what is sitting in my business bank account? But it's my bank that's causing the problem. I don't think so. So, come Monday, when I make this delivery, if I still have not been paid for the week, I'm going to tell my dispatcher, forget the shop, forget all that, book me a load to Pennsylvania. Because you know what I'm going to do. You know, I can work with mess ups. Mess ups happen. I can work with that. But when you send me my email with my settlement breakdown and it says that I am due $3,095 and come Saturday night I've still not been paid, when on their driver tiering system I am rated at top tier, which is tier 1. That gives me a $150 bonus a week. That gives me unlimited access to fintech. And it also states on there that I am to be paid on Thursdays. Now, I've been on their top tier driver thing for the past 3 weeks straight. I was not credited the $150 bonus last week. I was this week. But yet, it is Saturday and I've not been paid. And like I said, all I get are excuses. This is from, well, I don't even know which dispatcher it was. Good morning, I checked the system and it shows as paid. I'll forward this to our manager to verify what happened. And about the fuel card as well, we'll also check with the finance team to see why it wasn't deducted. I tried calling you. My boss told me that since you were on the West Coast and I released your payment around 5 p.m. Eastern, because I can't release it without confirming you picked up the load, it may have only been processed Friday morning, which can delay the bank's processing time. He said it has already been paid, but now it depends on the bank. Now, I don't know if they're saying my bank or their bank. And it doesn't matter. Because she said right in there that everything was in by 5 p.m. Thursday, which, hey, guess what? The cutoff is 6. Their own words. It's what they tell you. Anything that you have loaded by 6 o'clock Thursday, you send them a picture of the bills, you send a picture of the loaded trailer, they mark the load as en route, and they pay you for the load. As long as that's in by 6 o'clock on Thursday, you get paid for it. So I don't understand what their financial team is doing. I don't understand what the rest of the drivers over here at Billor are doing, because brokers are refusing to work with us left and right. And then I'm pretty sure our dispatchers aren't paid by gross revenue. They're being paid by the number of dispatched miles. So they're not fighting for a good RPM. They're looking at total miles saying, oh, hey, this is a long load. That's a good load. No, it's not. And when you keep rejecting loads that they show you, and you tell them, no, I ain't gonna take that, or yeah, talk to the broker and I'll take it if they come up to this amount, then all of a sudden you're being difficult to deal with and you're being too picky. Or you get told you're gonna sit for the rest of the day because none of the loads that they've been showing you have been good enough for you. And yeah, I've got that in messaging. One of the dispatch team, it wasn't my normal dispatcher that I started with, it was one of these other dipshits they put on my dispatch team, because there's like, I guess 4 of them now, and you still can't get a hold of anybody late night. But anyways, yeah, this other female dispatcher flat out said, well, I guess you'll be sitting because none of the loads that I've shown you have been good enough for you. Well, no shit, they haven't been good enough. I'm not going to sit here and accept a load that only pays $1.70, $1.80 a mile on gross. I only get 85% of that. Hell, a $2 a mile load. They book it for exactly $2 a mile. Out of my, when I get my cut of that, that is barely enough for me to break even on that load. Because that comes out to my rate per mile being $1.70, and that does not include the deadhead. So I'm waiting to see if I get paid on Monday or not, because if I don't, I'm gone. Regardless, I'm gone. If I don't get paid, I won't even care at that point that I won't be able to pay any of my bills, because I can't pay them now. But yeah, I mean, and it sucks because, like I said, the first 8 weeks I was doing okay. I liked it over here. Nothing major was going wrong. Anything that did go wrong, I was able to get resolutions on it. They were, you know, I was able to get them to work with me on it. Still had to fight with them to get a load that actually paid me profit, but, you know. And even now, with the brokers falling off, I still wouldn't leave because of that. You know, yeah, it'd make it a little bit harder for me to find loads and make a profit, but I wouldn't leave because of that, because that's not something that my dispatcher can help. That's these other guys that they're just hiring willy-nilly and putting behind the wheel, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with our safety score, which, you know what, for S&Gs, let's see if we can find Billor's safety score. Billor US Transport, here we go. Let's see. They've got 265 drivers. That's all we have right now. Let's see. General freight. All right, let's see. 329 vehicle inspections, 597 driver inspections, out of service 125 vehicles, 60 drivers, out of service percent 38% on the vehicle, 10.1% on the driver. National average as of 10/31/25 for vehicles is only 22.26%. So we are almost 16% above the national average for vehicle out of service. And driver out of service is 6.67 national average, which means we are 3.4% higher than that. So far for the past 24 months prior to 11/21/25, we've had 1 fatal crash, 9 injury crashes, 15 tows, for a total of 25 crashes. Let's see. Nothing for Canada, because we don't operate in Canada. So our safety score is garbage. This is what they're hiring. Damn near 50% out of service on vehicles. Oh. There you go. All you got to do is Google Billor Safer Web. And that pulls it up. So that's why the brokers don't want to deal with us. And we're stuck using brokers like TQL and King of Freight, which are notorious for undercutting the rates. CH Robinson will work with us as well, but it's CH Robinson. They work with anybody, just like TQL. So yeah, if you're thinking about coming to Billor right now, I cannot endorse you coming over. I cannot say come over here right now. Because hell, I might be leaving myself because they're not paying. They didn't pay me. And if they don't pay me by Monday, I'm gone. I will empty this truck out. I will park it at a truck stop and I will tell them, come recover your truck. Because I sure as hell ain't gonna drive it down to North Carolina or Florida or frickin' Houston for them. You don't want to pay me, why should I take your truck back to your yard, right? That's just the way I look at it. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. I actually like this truck. All in all, it's running decent. I mean, I'm expecting something major to break on it, but you know, it's a used truck. You gotta expect that. But for right now, my AC issue is the worst thing I got. So yeah, that's what we got going on. That is what we got going on. And I hate having to put this kind of a review out there. But as of right now, on week 9, my review, I can honestly tell you guys, do not come here right now. If you're in the process of talking to their salespeople, just say, hey, look, I found something else. I'm going to go over here or whatever. You know, end it on a cordial note, because I don't know if or when things will improve. And that's just the long and the short of it. You know, they are putting people behind the wheel of these things that should not be behind the wheel of them. The Safer score says that. 38% vehicle out of service. 38%. That is drivers not doing their pre-trips. That is drivers knowing there is something mechanically faulty with their truck and just saying, I don't want to put the money into fixing it. Those are every single one of those drivers that attributed to that high of a percent. You guys need to hang up your keys and get the hell out. You need to leave this company. You do not belong behind the wheel of a semi-truck. Maybe not all of them. Okay, because I will say there are things mechanical that will go wrong with your truck. You know, and you won't know about it until you do your next pre-trip. You can do a pre-trip, everything will check out fine. You can get to a weigh station 100 miles up the road, they do an inspection and say, hey, you got a massive oil leak. Stuff like that does happen. So I won't say every single one of those drivers is fully, you know, just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I can tell you right now, because of it being a lease purchase, I can tell you that more than likely 85 to 90% of those drivers knew about the issues and just decided not to do it until they got put out of service. When I was at Love's, it's a good example. When I was at Love's getting my AC worked on, they had a road call repair come in for a Billor truck in Washington State. As soon as they went out of Idaho, they hit going west, they hit Washington, got to that first way station, they were pulled over for 2 tires. And they were put out of service until it was repaired for 2 tires. You gonna tell me you didn't know your tires needed replaced? They weren't blown tires either. These are tires still on the rim, still inflated, and they were placed out of service because of 2 of them needing to be replaced. Again, you're gonna tell me you didn't know your tires needed to be replaced? Come on. Something like that doesn't happen just going down the road. Something like that, you know, those tires wore out and you just said, I'm not going to put the money into fixing them. You don't need to be out here. So yeah, right now, don't come to Billor. I'm hoping I get to stay. I'm hoping Monday morning my deposit is there, because if it is, I'm not going anywhere and I'll keep on keeping on. But as of right now, they owe me $3,000 by my settlement email, and I haven't been paid. And that doesn't fly with me. What I really wish is, I really wish my YouTube channel would explode, or, you know, YouTube and my Facebook would explode. I'd get out of trucking. I'd buy a camper, and me and the dogs would go see the country and actually see the country instead of just from the interstate. Like, I passed by the exit for Mount Rushmore. I've never seen Mount Rushmore. I'd love to see it. Still heating up. I don't understand that. I'd love to see Mount Rushmore. I'd love to see the Grand Canyon. And I'd love to take the girls to the beach. And right now, I can't do any of that. Anyways, guys, that's this review. You know, I always said when I did these reviews, I was going to give you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, we're in the ugly. And like I said, I can't in good conscience sit here and endorse you coming over, because I'm just not, they have changed so much stuff so quickly that it is now just a cluster. So there we go. I will see you guys maybe on my week 10 review, or maybe you'll see a farewell Billor video. We'll see how it goes. Have a good one. Peace.